Railway model prices appear to have been on an upward spiral for the last number of years. But what is the real story? How much have model prices actually increased over the last 10 years, and how does it compare to inflation in general? Buckle up and let's see if we can put some real numbers on what is going on here. Hi, thanks for joining today's video. We'll kick off by outlining the process I've undertaken to perform this analysis. We'll then take a step back in time and look at the prices from 10 years ago. After that, we'll come back to the current day and we'll consider the current prices and the difference between those prices and the prices from 10 years ago and express that in a percentage increase. To finish up, we'll do an overall analysis of the results and we'll consider where things go from here. Okay, let's get started. So in order to get a feel for the level of price inflation, I've decided to look at a shopping basket of 14 items, for which I've been able to get pricing from both September 2011 and September 2021. I've restricted the analysis to Hornby and Bachmann models, both because of their market share and also because of the ability to get pricing for an equivalent model across the two sample dates. I've also restricted the analysis to locomotives and coaches with the representative EMU and DMU. These are the items that have experienced the greatest level of inflation. I'm only looking at O gauge models for this exercise as I don't have a background in O gauge or N gauge. I've gone for pricing from major resellers such as Hattons and Rails rather than manufacturer RRPs, so the numbers will be a little bit less than the RRP, typically by 10 to 15%. As this is going to lead to some fluctuation in terms of items that may be on offer at a particular point in time, I've taken an average pricing across a number of sellers and a number of different product variants, so things should be averaged as much as possible. The other consideration I've brought to bear is whether a particular model underwent a major overhaul in the intervening period that may have warranted a higher price tag. In general, I have avoided any such models that I've been aware of, but I am open to correction, so if anyone feels a particular model in our shopping basket falls into this category, please let me know in the comments. The final results will be presented as a percentage increase in the average price from September 2011 to September 21. Okay, let's start looking at the prices from 2011. Okay, so let's look at some representative prices from 2011. So the first up is a Mark II coach from Hornby, coming in at £18. It's in the Virgin livery, a nice looking coach, and I think a pretty nice price for that particular point in time. Next one we have is a Hornby Mark III coach in the First Great Western livery. They were very popular coaches in their day and they still command a pretty good price second hand. I don't think you'd get this for £21 second hand today. A nice coach and one that has obviously gone up in price and value as well. So this is the first of a couple of HST packs I wanted to include in this section just to give an idea of the pricing of these. This is a Grand Central variant and in this livery. £95, pretty nice price, but the next one's even a better price, which is in the Virgin livery, the red livery. And so these HST packs coming in at a very nice price at this point in time. Hornby class 56, a pretty staple item. Very nice price here, £59. I think people would be very pleased to pick it up for that price today. So yeah, this is one of the models that has increased quite a bit. Next one is the Hornby Pendolino. Now it's hard to get an equivalent here between the two dates. This one's a full train set. It does include the DCC controller. The version that we have for 2021 does not. It's just a train pack. This is the only reference I have from the pricing I have. So we'll use this as the first and then we'll look at the 2021 pricing and then just caveat the 2021 pricing is that you're not getting the same value as you did get in this particular set by maybe about £100. Let's move on. So we've got the Monsell coach from Hornby, £21. Nice coach, nice price. The Hornby Princess class locomotive, £103.49. Probably kind of expensive enough, I guess, for 10 years ago. So this one probably hasn't aged in terms of price as badly as others. Getting to the Bachmann items now, £10 for this coach, Mark I coach. That seems pretty cheap to me. And £15 for this Mark II. Again, seems like a very good price back in 2011. And similarly, the Class 37 from Bachmann, again, a pretty nice price at $76.50 for this Class 37. And then another Class 37 at £65. Again, a very nice price for back 10 years ago. Class 66, 8750. And I've also included a Class 66 with DCC sound, because I think one thing to note here, the delta on the sound equipped locomotives is not as great as on the DCC ready versions. So I think we'll see that this one doesn't inflate in price as badly. I've also got the Derby DMU, again very nice price of £77 back in 2011, and a Bachmann V2, again a nice £88.50 price back then. So here's the 2011 average. So those were just point prices. These are the averages now taken across a number of vendors and a number of variants as well. Some of them may be the same, others will be different because they've been averaged out now. So it kind of gives you an idea of the pricing there across the different coach types, and the 7 Hornby and the 7 Bachmann samples that we have. So let's move on then to 2021 and take a look at the average. And I think you'll see that some of these numbers really have gone up significantly. And so we've got the 2021 average in the middle there, and we've got the percentage increase on the right hand side for each of them. And some of these have gone up substantially. Things like the Class 56 from Hornby, as you can see, has gone up quite a bit there. The Class 43 HSTs, as we all know too well, have gone up significantly. And even that price of $261 now, with the new prices from Hornby, this is probably going to be more expensive than that by any of the new models that come out before the end of this year. So that's probably inflated again, even after the September analysis. Some of the other ones worth pointing out, look at the Bachmann Mark II coaches there, gone from 16 to 48, massive increase over the time. And then just calling out the DCC sound model there, 163 to 207, and that's in line with inflation numbers. So that one actually isn't that bad, and it's the Locomotive price that's gone up more. The DCC decoder obviously getting more discounted over time, so and that's keeping down the increase in price there a little bit. So let's translate this into, I guess, a table ranking them. And so unfortunately Bachmann hold the first 3 places at the top of this table, which aren't very good places to hold. Significant increases across all their coaches and across their Derby DMU, which isn't good. Now Hornby come in next with their 3 red zone items, and the Monsell coaches, the Class 56 and the Class 43. I don't think there's any real surprises with some of these, all increasing by significant numbers in excess of 100%, and more than doubling essentially. We go down the list, the Hornby coaches a little bit less. The Pendolino I think is a bit artificial. I think that probably should be in the red zone when you consider the value you were getting in the 2011 model versus what you're getting today with 2021 with the Avanti Pendolino. Further down the list, the value isn't as bad. The Class 66, second last, and then as I said, the Class 66 with sound is within the bounds of inflation, and I'm showing it as a green. Quite an acceptable price increase in that time period for a model of that price. So this really gives you an idea. Some really big, more than half the numbers on the list are in the red zone. They're in excess of 100% increases, more than doubled. And at a inflation rate at the moment for the UK, probably going to run at about 30% for the last 10 years. That's assuming like a 4% inflation for this year. And that's based on... I'll give a reference in the description for that. But we're looking at about 30% for those 10 years. And look at the numbers here. They're just totally out of whack with a 30% increase. And in many cases here, this is like-for-like capability. There's very little improvement on some of these items. Things like maybe the couplers have changed. There's been some tweaks to them. Liveries have changed. But in most cases here, we haven't seen any significant technology leap forward in that 10 years for these items. To see increases like this is pretty disturbing. So let's get into the analysis phase. These are the numbers. I think the next thing to do is do a little bit more analysis around these numbers and what is driving up these numbers. Okay. So I guess the big question everybody would have is, how come we're seeing these significantly higher price increases than the level of inflation? And I mean, some question marks you might put out is, one is the manufacturing cost in China. Is that increasing? And, most of these increases have been on a trajectory. So it's not just COVID and any issues with container shipments over the last 12 to 4 months. That's been the issue. These have been on this trend, though it has, I would say, accelerated in the last, say, 12 to 18 months, the price increases. But what's kind of driving that? Are we seeing the effect of reduced sales volumes, perhaps, driving Bachmann and Hornby and the other vendors to increase their margins? We do have the escalating transport costs, I kind of alluded to. Are there some exchange rate impacts? Probably not significant. I don't think they're going to make up for the sort of numbers we're talking about. So I think it's maybe a combination of all the above. Certainly, there's some big factors playing out here. So some other things that haven't helped over the last couple of years is with the fact that the likes of Hattons no longer fully cover the Bachmann range, and Rails do similar for the Hornby range. They don't cover the full range anymore. We've had issues with Hornby throttling their pre-orders from Hattons and Rails, and obviously both of those getting very upset by that, and hence kind of withdrawing a bit from Hornby. None of this is really helping matters because it's just helping keep the prices inflated. And some items now are just purely available from, say, the Hornby website, which means you're paying full RRP. So for those items, things are even worse than the analysis I've done here. I think on a more positive note, we do have some new players like Accurascale coming in, and they seem to be delivering good value for very high quality product. And I think we're going to see their locomotives. We've got the A-Class, the Irish A-Class just coming out. We're going to have more locomotives like the Class 37, the Class 55 from them, and the Class 92, and we've got their coaches going to start rolling out in the next while. So it should be a very interesting player in terms of delivering really good quality at a fair price, I would say. So that's really it. I'd love to get your feeling and feedback on this. What are your thoughts on model prices? Where do you see it going? What are your thoughts on the whole China situation? Should we just be relying on every single model that we have today coming from China? Does that really make sense? That every model we have on our layouts has to come halfway around the world, and that becoming a much more expensive proposition as time goes by, even just the environmental impact of that. Give me your comments, please. I would be interested in hearing them. And how have you felt about, particular prices from these vendors over the last while? Which ones have outraged you? Which ones have you been happy with? So that's it for today. Good to see some numbers around this now. I wasn't too sure myself. I had a perception of where things were. I suppose that perception has now turned into reality. And I think that reality unfortunately has been getting worse over the last 6-12 months at an accelerated level. Let's keep an eye on this, and hopefully these prices don't get any worse than they have done over the last 6 months. Okay, thanks for watching today. We'll hopefully see you on the next one. And in the meantime, happy modeling.